All right.
All right, it's
Super. Well, I was hoping that first things first, we could decide who is willing to do the summary this week and submit that to Professor Avery.
If you guys send me, what did we say, like 3 points each?
Mm-hmm.
If you guys email those to me, I can do it.
Okay. Thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah.
Alyssa, we're sending it to?
Yeah.
Send it to Alyssa.
Okay.
Sorry, I have to remember that you can't see us, so yes.
Yes. Sorry.
It's all good.
All right.
So,
Well, that's super. Well, what did you guys enjoy the most this week? The videos or the reading, or both?
I think I enjoyed both, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the video was pretty good, especially let me see, on my worst day.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really took some things away from that. So I enjoyed that video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was good. I was a little skeptical of looking that one up just because when I saw James Baker or Jim Baker, whatever, it was like I had preconceived past thoughts about him. I thought, what could this be? Okay, Linda, think Grace.
I'll be completely honest. I don't think that I've heard of Jim Baker, or if I have, I've probably blocked it out. Just one of those shows that, like, I'm not going to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Or take seriously. Just like the format and the stage and like just some of the, I guess, Christianese language being used.
Yes.
All of that really kind of turned me off a little bit, to be honest, but I kept watching and I was sitting in Starbucks, like almost trying to hold back tears a little bit in there, just like, wow, that is so powerful. And I don't know, for me, it was such an awesome refresher of the true good news and like just what that we can tap into for ourselves, but then potentially and hopefully what we can offer our clients, whether that's outright or just to be someone that has that hope and that they can see that, that is a possibility.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just blown away. And then they started like selling stuff at the end, and I was like, that's why I don't watch this kind of stuff. Shut it off and
Last 15 minutes. Alyssa, you may know Jim Baker because you may know his ex-wife, Tammy Faye.
Oh, is that the one with like the purple hair?
Yeah, really big hair.
And that's yeah.
And I crazy makeup.
Right. I feel so bad for like the judgments that I do have on that, because I know for a fact, like I know a couple people who have really kind of had a spiritual walk start through a show like that.
Right.
But then, any of us and all of us, I'm sure, can say something to the effect of just having a hard time with it as well. So
yeah.
But that's true. That's the connection.
Okay, you got it. Yeah. Well, I just had tears too when I watched the reenactment of the Grace Room, and I thought, oh my gosh, Santa Claus. We made up Santa Claus, and when he made that, when the speaker, what was his name, John Lynch, talked about, that is how so many of us think of God, is you better watch out.
Right.
And we forget that he wants to come right alongside us and look with us at our past and reframe our future. I just thought that was just such a beautiful picture of how we should strive to be Jesus with the Jesus our clients can see. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. It just really touched me. That's for sure.
I think one thing that he said at the end of the video that really struck me, that I think that we can use with our clients, is that he said that grace is soft, but it's the truth. I think is what he
Yeah, he said
and
that grace is soft.
yes, and I think
Yeah.
and I think we can take that into like our therapy sessions with our clients, you know, showing them that grace, but also being true, showing the truth to them, and helping them through, you know, that process, and helping them, you know, go through the problems that they came to therapy to. So that's one thing that really, like when he said that, it kind of like stuck with me, and I was like, whoa, that is so true. Like grace is soft, but we can also be truthful when we're working with our clients or just people in our lives, you know, being grateful and showing them grace, but also, you know, being true to them.
Right.
So that's
I actually wrote down that passage, what you said. He says, grace is not soft.
Exactly. Yeah.
He said, it tells the truth, but it is messy and it is safe.
Yeah.
So it's both messy and safe. And I like also, Salama, how he put that, because he definitely, and then how he brings it when he was talking about us putting on a mask and being in the room.
yeah.
I think that's where it was a nice come around to that, because he shows us how grace does, you know, how we are a mess. We are an internal and external mess.
Right.
And we make messes of everything around us, and grace comes in and kind of mops it up. So it's kind of a nice analogy to know that it's soft, but it's still messy.
Yeah, and I thought about the masks and our therapy, our rooms being rooms of grace, as we help our clients, you know, be safe to take off those masks. So, I mean,
he said something to the effect of like, when I wear a mask, only my mask gets the love. And I mean, that hit me. I mean, how often do we live like that, you know? And then how refreshing is it when we have experienced it in our own lives, when we can bring the mask off and someone looks at you and says, I know you, I accept you, I want to be here. And so when he went into like when he was reading that section on, let me find it, I wrote down a quote, but on my worst day I am, and then these are just parts of it, but adored, enjoyed, clean, righteous, absolutely forgiven, new, acceptable, complete, chosen, able, intimately loved, smiled upon, planned, protected, continually thought about and enjoyed, cared for, understood, known completely. And then he goes into like waited for, belonging, never alone, safe, appreciated, at peace with, cried over, grieved with, relaxed with, carried, given endlessly, given endless affection. And I mean, he just kept going. For me personally, again, sitting at Starbucks, just thinking like, man, if only I could get that for myself. And then how much more do I want this for every single person that's sitting here, you know?
right.
And that we actually get to be a part of that. And again, whether that's outright as a Christian counselor with other Christian clients, or if that's just as a counselor that carries that with us as a follower of Christ no matter where we are. I love it that we can start sharing that same kind of hope and acceptance with others. That
Exactly.
that we love them, not their mask.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's very
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, I work a lot with, I've worked a couple times with some of my daughter's friends, and they are all from the gay and lesbian community. And so it can be hard. One of the things I liked about one of the things that we read about was the practice in professional issues, the political columns. And it talks about the different ways that we can exude Christianity, but not necessarily exude it. And this is something you brought up, Lissa, on your last week's topic. You brought up about being a counselor in a secular setting,
Yeah.
and how hard that is. And it is. It's very difficult. But one of the things you just said was that acceptance. One of the main things that I tell those clients that are, gay, lesbian, or believe differently or whatever, is when you sit down in my room, judgment sits at the door. There's no judgment in the room. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be judging you for who you are in that regard. God is the one who does all of that, and that is his job to decide what is sin and what isn't. And I have just as much as they do, so I can't bring anything in otherwise either. But I like how they talk about bringing some of that into the room without actually bringing it into the room, which is awesome, because I've had one of my daughter's friends who I met with, he just at very first, when I said that, he said, I really appreciate, because you're the first Christian I've had who hasn't told me that I'm a sinner and I'm this terrible person. So it really makes a difference when we are open, and it doesn't mean that we are approving of it to ourselves. I think there's a difference, and so I think that's important to know, that we're not saying that it's okay for ourselves, but that is the lifestyle that they chose, and so they have the right to be treated like a human being, just like we do.
Correct.
That was actually interesting for me, and I was going to bring it up in this and kind of see what other people thought. But in one of the articles, the shortest one, I know that it's like 6 pages. The author said that he actually would say outright and use the specific example of having a young man come in and say that he was gay, and he actually said, "Hey, this is my spiritual belief system," so they would know that that's where he was coming from. And I don't know, it almost kind of rubbed me the wrong way of setting it up to, I understand the openness aspect of that and saying that, but at the same time, isn't that on us as counselors to deal with that and grasp that and not bring it into the session? What were you guys saying?
Yeah, so I read an article, when the author was talking about, self-disclosure and, him being okay with, telling his clients that he's Christian or not. And I think in one passage he talked about, that's what the Bible calls us to do, almost like evangelizing. And I really disagreed with that, because I don't think as counselors, we're not in the position to be evangelizing or trying to maybe not convert our clients, but I think we can self-disclose in ways that we don't have to talk about our religion or talk about Christ, but it's more about showing that grace to people. Right. I really disagree. Yeah, I circled that, and I was like, I disagree, because I don't think that it's our job to be evangelizing. I almost think you have motive. Your motive is to go into this session to evangelize or to bring this person to Christ, and I don't think it's fair for the clients if that's what your motive is, and maybe it's not the right profession for you to be in. It kind of just seems I don't know if anybody else thought about it like that, but it just kind of really got me thinking no, that's not right. We shouldn't be doing that. But,
I fully agree.
I totally agree too. When I read that article, it was hitting me the wrong way. The one portion of the article, well, there were two that I liked about it though. One was that we disclose our faith in ways we don't even realize just because of the person we are as Christ followers. Hopefully people are going to see a difference in us, and that our empathetic nature is based on our relationship with Christ, that there's that light shining through. And I think he mentioned or she, and that was that TAN article, I think, the last one, that no, we can't go into a session evangelizing, and that's not the motive. But if our light, the light of Christ, shines through us, that's a good thing. Does that make sense to you all?
Yeah.
So, but then on the other hand, I wondered if can't we have an introduction to faith or religion by including that in the intake form if they have, spiritual, or just a casual question, what are your spiritual beliefs? And then you go from there. So
I have it online. Yeah. Okay.
Well, and I think honestly, it's to recognize that there's a spiritual aspect of all of us, whether we recognize it or not, is important. And so to almost offer it as being up to the client whether they want to discuss that or not, by opening it up and leaving it on the floor for them, is probably the best approach, just to see where they want to go with it, rather than immediately assuming, one way or the other and defining it for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
On my intake form, I have what religion they are, so they can put what religion they practice. And then I ask on there, have they had a good or bad experience from this? And have they had a good or bad experience in spirituality in general? So say they're Muslim and they've had bad experiences with Hindus, for instance. I don't know if anybody had a bad experience with a Hindu, but that's just an example. Have they had a bad experience with another spirituality? And if so, what was that experience? And so it kind of gives me an insight as to what their worldview is a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I also like to do is, and I don't know if you guys know, but I transferred from Walden. So you guys find, I don't know if you guys have taken ethics yet, but in the ethics book, the ethics, the ACA book, actually has an example in it of a guy who, I guess he took in a woman and she had been having a bad experience with her church. And they bring up the fact that this guy then assumes that she's having problems with the church, so he wants to bring in the pastor and he wants to do this and that and the other. And this woman ends up not going back to session. And it's because he automatically assumed what the problem was that she was coming in with. Rather than asking, what's going on, and letting her kind of lead as to what her goals are, because it's not our job to set our clients' goals. It's our client's job to set their own goals.
Right. And I was just going to say, I think it's important that you include, their religion and if they've had any bad experiences or not, because based on that, then you can kind of approach it that way instead of coming in with your own motive of saying evangelizing, because not every client that we see is a Christian, or they believe in God, or they have a different religion than we might have. And so when we bring up our religion, that might turn them away, and then they will get the help that that they were seeking. So I think it's very important to be upfront and ask them how religion plays in their life, or if they would like to kind of explore that instead of just assuming.
Yes. Yeah. And I like that word explore that you used, Salama. That's exactly it. And then that's where the point comes where if we proceed down that road, it might become disclosure on our part. But it would depend on the client.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I was excited to see more on spiritual disciplines after last week, because I was so jazzed about that. What were your thoughts about the spiritual disciplines, y'all?
I hear music. Is somebody playing music? Or...
It's probably in the background because I'm sitting at Starbucks. Sorry.
Okay, all I hear is like music.
Yeah, our internet is down, so here I am.
That's okay. I don't mind the music.
It's like, the like chill Starbucks music.
Yeah, we've all got it here.
I was just trying to, set the background atmosphere for us.
That's okay.
I think for me personally, looking at spiritual disciplines is it's been really beneficial just to see one, I guess where I've been and like how it affects my own walk, and also how it could be implemented with clients if that's something that they're open to and wanting. But I think more than anything, reading more into that has left me wondering more about like what, say, and I don't even know if this exists, but like say our Christian counseling program, I'd like to know if there's like a Buddhist counseling program or Islamic counseling program and what their approach is and what their thoughts are. Because, I mean, my husband, I don't know if I shared this last time, but my husband's from India. And so I love to bounce a lot of these ideas off of him and just get a different perspective. And, I mean, the way that he would see it, or say his whole family coming from a Hindu background would see Christian or counseling in and of itself is completely different.
I bet.
So I don't know, like the spiritual disciplines are really interesting, I think, and are very beneficial for that specific clientele. But it really just opens me up to more questions on how we can better reach clientele from a different perspective. I don't know if that makes sense.
Right.
Well, I was encouraged from a personal point of view that regardless of whether we had a client who was beneficial to talk with them about the spiritual disciplines, it would absolutely benefit ourselves and Christian therapists who choose to spend time in prayer and meditation and truly thinking from a kind of an eternal perspective about the clients before they come into the room, and those moment by moment prayers we can have when we're listening to someone and we're not sure what to say next or how to respond. And so that to me was just like, oh my gosh, this is just you gotta stay close to God. You gotta stay walking with the Lord. Just a call to myself.
Yeah. And so I think some of the spiritual disciplines that they've talked about, I think are very important, especially like in counseling where you're meeting with all kinds of people and you may not even know what to say or what direction to go with therapy. So just being in the habit of like praying and asking, for God's guidance. And that's something that I've been working on since I've been working on my internship site now for almost 2 months. And sitting with clients for the first time can be very nerve-wracking. And so I've just gotten in the habit of like praying before I go into each session and praying that God would just, lead me or just put the right words in my mouth, or just give me the confidence to work with the clients. So I think that's been a good discipline that I've, been trying to, work and work at more since I started seeing clients. And it's helped. So I would definitely say prayer is important. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. I'm glad you've experienced it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
So there, just a question, like, are there other disciplines that you guys see as being that applicable or that helpful other than prayer?
I think reading the Bible.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Salome.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Has anyone else read this book, Anatomy of the Soul?
No.
It is awesome. I really love it. But anyway, I'm reading it for the spiritual formation class. It was the pre-read. It was the pre-read for this class, or optional or something. I don't know. It was on the list, but I don't know if it made her on her list early before the class started. But anyway, there's exercises in there that are about meditation and how this Dr. Thompson sat with a client and had them visualize Jesus coming and sitting down next to them and telling them that, I love you. I approve of you. I delight in you. And the transformation that took place, and asking her to continue that sort of meditation at home where she focused in on not expressing her love towards God, but experiencing by meditation God's love for her. Now, to me, that seems really restorative, because you are then meditating, practicing self-acceptance, and also realizing that God accepts you too. And the book is about rewiring your brain. And so what he's saying is that kind of like, the more, to simplify it, the more positive thoughts you have, the more you change those negatives, the more your brain learns to work that way. So that was an example of meditation.
I do a lot of study on neurocognitive, and what you're talking about is moving things from the right side of the brain to the left side of the brain.
Thank you. That's the technical part. Yeah.
What you're doing is your amygdala is what I call and I have this little, I don't know if you guys can see the little net, but I have it for my clients, and it's called the stop sign. It's when information comes in, it stops at the stop sign, or the amygdala, and then it goes from there to the limbic system and your hippocampus, and then it goes up into your the part of the brain. And what happens with people who have dysfunctional thoughts is it stays on the descriptive side of the brain, which is the right side of the brain. So, and it loops. It's almost like your clients have regurgitated thoughts.
Okay. Yeah.
Constant, and they can't get it out of. And your descriptive side is what we call the HD side. So it's almost like a movie playing over and over again. That's why they can recount what happened to them, in sexual trauma or in, PTSD or whatever. They can account for all of this because it's like it's playing out in a movie. It's only when you're able to move it over to the left side of the brain, which is the explanation side of the brain, that you're able to get them to process it. And actually, it's almost like if you told them to write down what the movie was about. That's what you're doing on the other side of the brain.
Okay. Yeah.
I hope that helps. But
yeah, that helps me to, yeah.
Melissa, when you were talking about other practices, so I had the blessing of having a pastor who, when I was in junior high, he had studied all of the different religions. And he felt like a person who understands the basis of each religion can better understand the individual. And so he taught us, which sounds funny because we're in church, he taught us about Muslims, and he taught us about what they believe in and why they believe it and all of that, and about Hindus and what they believe and why they believe, and what regions of the world those are in. Each one of those are in primarily, not necessarily that they're not here, but where they're at primarily. He taught us about Wiccans, and what their spiritual beliefs is and why it's considered a cult. So it was interesting. He wasn't taking us down this road because he wanted us to learn this thing, but it was because you better understand a person and you better understand your own religion and your own faith when you understand others. And so it's kind of it's nice that you have that balance to be able to kind of kick that off of him and say, what do you think of this? Because they do have spiritual practices that we can use in Christianity.
Absolutely.
That are unified.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's kind of interesting for me personally in the spiritual disciplines is they're not necessarily only applicable within the Christian realm. But that a lot of them actually have strong foundations in other religions. So I was kind of asking the question just to explore what other people had seen or experienced in that.
Yeah, and I think that's because they are effective. Everyone is using them, but with a different, tweak.
Absolutely.
When I think, and I say this in like the danger of being called gray from a lot of people, at least in my community, but for me personally, I've come to believe that there's got to be at least like some aspect of faith or truth in any of these faith systems for people to really follow it. And so, again, in our conversation, not necessarily going into any of these sessions wanting to evangelize, but to really see what the client wants, where the client's wanting to go, and how we can walk alongside them to find a healthier them, whatever that looks like for them. I don't want to step into like a universal kind of thing with that, but how awesome is that we get to walk into that with our hope and with the truth that we know, and really tap into the truth that they bring in as well, and use that to really see how we can best help them. It's exciting.
It is exciting. It is. Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys can see this on your screen, but we have like a little less than 3 minutes left. So,
Yes.
Any other like thoughts that anyone wants to really get out there?
Not really. I think I've said what I really wanted to share with you guys today.
All right, good. I can tell you that I just started singing along at the close of the Grace Room second video presentation, and that was so beautiful to hear that song sung in all those different languages, and it also brought kind of a multicultural, flavor to our faith. So yeah, I like that.
Okay. Yep. So cool.
All right. Well, I'll send you my talking points, Alyssa.
Send me the talking points, everybody.
Yeah.
I'll I'll actually put them in a document and send them to you guys to see if you want to add, change anything, and then I'll turn it in.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Sounds great. Okay.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
See you all.
Rest of the week.
Okay.
All right. You all.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.